Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another Truth Tuesday. And before I get into our episode tonight, I want to apologize for the breaks. I think there's like a Verizon outage in my area. So all day today, I've been having connection issues. But thank you for struggling through that and being here today with me. Truth Tuesday is a space for honest, grounded conversations about spirituality, healing, and growth without bypassing the hard parts and without pretending transformation is always graceful or easy. Tonight's conversation continues that intention. And if you stick around after my guest, I have some news to share with you in the spirit of it being Truth Tuesday. Now, for tonight, my guest is Michele Blood. Her life was changed dramatically after a near fatal car accident, a moment that altered not only her career path, but her identity, beliefs, and inner world. Rather than focusing only on inspiration or outcomes, we're going to explore what happens inside a person when life forces a reckoning, the parts we don't often hear about. Guys, please help me to welcome Michele to our building. Hi, Michele.
Hi, Uma. Great to be here.
Lovely to have you. Sorry about my little weird opening, but we've been having that connection issue all day today. So where are we having you watch us from, Michele?
Oh, I'm in San Diego County in the mountains.
Nice. Okay. I love San Diego. I visited there one time and I had a really good time. We're doing the bi-coastal guys, East Coast and West Coast. So, Michele, tell us a little bit about yourself before we get into my questions for you this evening. Who are you? What do you do? And why is this topic so important to you this evening?
Well, I love this topic because of the fact that I went through so much trauma, not just from the car accident that I was in after, long hours in a truck after a gig, because I was a rock singer in Australia. So on television since the age of 5. And
Wow.
so videos on TV, you name it, record labels, huge touring. One stage we toured 7 years nonstop. We were very popular. And then, my life changed after this horrific, well, actually I was in a truck accident with all the musical equipment went into me. But because of that life-changing experience, which was horrific, I mean, oh my God, if I tell you everything that happened to my body, I don't want anyone to lose their breakfast, lunch, or dinner. But anyway, because it was really bad. But it's amazing to me that something like that, I still went through so many different things because you change, your consciousness changes. And I went on a journey. I went to 16 different countries looking for an enlightened teacher because I was soul sick and I just wanted to find God. And even though on the outside of the world, it looked like I'd created something that was so popular and I was working with huge names in the industry, Bob Proctor for years, I was still soul sick. I was still searching for what my higher self was. And
Right.
so now I write about that. I teach meditation. I went off the grid for 12 years, Uma, for 12 years. No internet, no nothing, and just meditated with this enlightened teacher. And that was so hard. If people say it's easy to become enlightened or to meditate, they're lying to you. It's very challenging, but it's worth every moment of it. So that's basically me in a very basic form, short and sweet, just like myself.
I love it. I love it. And I love that you talked about because you were very much in that professional realm, right? Like
Yes.
you had a lot going for you. And I'm kind of curious because, being a law of attraction manifesting coach, I'm always looking at how things happen and why things happen. So I want to know, take yourself back before the accident, before the spiritual work, the affirmations, the meditations, the teachings you learned. Who were you internally? Not professionally, but what was going on an internal level at that time in your life when this catastrophic thing happened?
Oh, there was a lot of joy because we were really getting well known. And I was so happy with my band. I'd managed to get the sound guy I'd always wanted, Herman. Hello, Herman. 6'4" Herman. I'm 5 foot, and everyone in my band was over 6'3". But I worked so hard to get to that place where now we were getting buzz in Europe and UK about maybe launching some of our songs over there. It was just incredibly hard work. You've got to be so disciplined to sing every night and to be able to manage your band, write the songs, look after everything. I was just an extremely disciplined, hardworking person, but a very joyful person, very, very happy. I loved being on stage. I've been on stage since I was 5.
I love that because, a lot of times people feel, and especially with the spiritual community, we do this kind of thing where we tell people, oh, if your energy is low or your frequency is low, then bad things happen to you, right? But your story is a testament to you could be at the highest of the high and life is still going to happen, right?
Yeah, I was in love, and I hadn't had a boyfriend for years, and about 4 months beforehand, I fell in love with someone. I mean, I was very, very joyful and grateful.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. And I hope that whoever's listening, if you're going through something, you don't beat yourself up and say, oh, maybe it's because, I was a depressed person or sad, or I didn't do this or I didn't do that. And that's the one thing that I kind of try to help tell people. It's like, life is going to happen, and it has to happen. We're all here for the experience, but it's not so much about when it happens to you and how it happens to you. It's more how you handle yourself while you're going through it. And that brings, yeah, right. And that's what I want to ask you about in my second question is the unspoken middle. Many people, when they tell stories about going from crisis to clarity, they skip out on the middle. And I'm like, the middle is the juicy part because something had to change or some things had to happen during that middle part for you to go from, I can't believe this happened to me, this is horrible, to I'm okay, I'm going to be okay. So can I ask you, what was the hardest internal shift you faced personally during your recovery? Maybe the part that wasn't inspiring or spiritual, the part that wasn't, made for TV. It was just the real rawness of it.
Oh, I was suicidal. I was depressed. I was in absolute physical agony. One of the operations was 17 and a half hours. I was in the hospital for months and months and months. And if I could have moved, I think I would have killed myself because the thought of not being able to be on stage and do what I love to do, because they weren't sure whether I'd even live, let alone walk again properly. And so it was, I was extremely depressed. And
Yeah.
I don't really think I would have committed suicide. I don't think that would be in me, but I was so down that no one could cheer me up. I didn't eat for, I think it was like 2 months. They had to feed me internally because I was so depressed. I was in the hospital and I was just, when I left the hospital, I was 80 pounds.
Wow.
Soaking wet.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So it was something. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I just have so many questions.
Yeah. What changed? How did that, being in the hospital, what was the big thing that changed? And it was really just something I never thought about motivational speakers or transformational speakers. I was always very spiritual. As a little girl, I went to mass every morning. I lived in the country and I went to mass every morning. I loved the nuns so much and I was so in love with Jesus. So I was always very spiritual in that way. I would cry. I was so happy, so in love with Jesus as a little girl. But rock and roll shook that out of me.
Right.
Can't be thinking of Jesus when you've got to do all this other stuff. That really. Anyway, and so people were sending me stuff, Uma, fans and family and different people to cheer me up because I couldn't get out of this depression. I was just, and so, and plus they had me, I was very clean living. You want to keep your voice and do all the gigs, you've got to be very clean. No drinking, no smoking, no nothing like that. And so they had me on extremely pethidine drip, which is a very strong drug. So, of course, not being used to drugs, sorry, people, drugs and rock and roll wasn't my experience. Sorry to disappoint.
Right.
Anyway, so it was just that something shifted from a book they put on. My auntie was a psychiatrist and she knew I was normally a happy person. So she kept putting on these positive mental attitude tapes. And something rang true when they spoke about affirmations, which I'd never heard of, but something rang true because when I heard about the affirmations, I was like, oh my God, I have willed myself to get the drummer I wanted, to get the gigs I've wanted. I absolutely know how powerful the mind is to make
Yes.
things happen. You know, even if I had a really bad flu, I would just say, I can still sing tonight, you know, and I would. I'd never blew a gig out ever, which is unheard of. Anyway, definitely not an Axl Rose. He blew out so many gigs. It's amazing that they ever kept going. But
Wow.
anyway, that's another story. But you know, when you just hear something for the first time and you feel it in the marrow of your bones that you're hearing truth. This is True Tuesday. That's what happened to me with the affirmations. And I started doing affirmations lying in the hospital bed because I couldn't move. I was in traction and everything. And they didn't work. It didn't work for me. So I got depressed again. I was like, God, I really thought that would work because I made up an affirmation. I am healed. I know I am. I love myself. I am my friend. And you're in a hospital. They're telling you it probably won't work again. If you do, you'll have this and that. And, you know, it's like, so you're visually seeing the opposite of what you're saying. So it couldn't go into my consciousness, my subconscious mind for it to, you know, plant something positive. But what happened was a very, very simple thing happened. I used to write jingles as well for extra money, but I never used to tell people because it was uncool. And I was cool. Anyway, and I realized, wow, these advertising agencies spend so much money on writing new jingles or famous songs because you can't get a song out of your head. So I got my brother to give me a blank cassette player. I always had a little cassette player with me. And for those that are young, Google it. Cassette player.
Yeah.
Because whenever I got a song idea, I would record it so I wouldn't miss it. Because sometimes they just go into the air and they're gone again. Wow, what was that great song? So I just started singing, I am healed, I know I am. I love myself, I am my friend. Sang it till 90 minutes cassette and listened to it nonstop. And that's when true change happened because because you're a healer. With the brain, the lyrics go into the left hemisphere of the brain and the melody into the right hemisphere. It goes straight into your subconscious mind as a positive new thought. You don't have to emotionalize it and you can't get rid of the thought. So that is what propelled me to be healed. I had no intention of selling affirmation music because it wasn't cool. I didn't think. But
it came about.
Yeah, when I got out of the hospital, I just went into the studio with a friend of mine and wrote about 80 affirmation songs just for me and the band because I saw the miracle that had happened with my healing. It was unbelievable. My attitude changed. I started being positive again. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't easy after that. It was still really tough, but it really made a difference to how I felt. I felt happier. I felt anything was possible again. My old attitude of I can do this came back. So I know that's a bit of a long answer, but that's what happened.
I like it because you outlined a couple of things that I talk about to people. Like, one, your attitude is everything. When you're dealing with things, you can't I think sometimes people put too much stock in, if I do everything right, everything will go right. And they keep forgetting we're human and we're in this game of life and we're here to play. So you have to receive everything that comes your way. I call it the path of least resistance, right? And
yes,
it sounds like that's what you did. Yeah, it sounds like that's what you did. You were like, all right, I'm in this hospital. I can't move. I got to stay here. This is what I got to deal with. So let me sing. I love to sing. So let me just make up a funny little song for me. Oh, I actually like that. All right, let me put it to cassette and I'm going to listen to it. And it just shifted that's how the miracles occur. And that's how the miracles in life happen. Do you agree?
Yeah. I mean, I thought they must have affirmation pop songs, rock songs. And I had my brother, because this is pre-internet, right?
Right.
So he went to all the music stores, and he even called my record label, Time Warner, and they said, no, I've never heard of anything like that. He said, there's affirmations by this lady called Louise Hay, but it's just spoken affirmations. I said, well, I'll take that too. I'll listen to that. But there was no music affirmations at the time. I had no idea no one had done it like that before.
I love that. Out of the fire comes the gold.
Yeah.
And this is the takeaway, guys. Like, life can throw you things, but you don't have to succumb to it. Now, you did a little bit, right? You were in your dark piece and everything, but even then, I don't think you were judging yourself, right? You were just allowing yourself to free fall into it, right?
Yeah, no, I didn't blame myself or judge myself or anything like that. I mean, one of the things that I recently did was self-esteem prayers on my new prayer app for people to have self-esteem. And it was the hardest one I did. And I said to my students, the reason it was the hardest one, because I've never had lack of self-esteem. I don't think I've ever said a nasty thing about myself ever.
Right.
I really just love myself so much.
I so identify with this conversation because I literally, I was telling you earlier that I'm going to talk about after. I had a bit of news delivered to me today. And my first instinct was like, me, like, not me. I'm too like badass for this. What are you talking about? So yes, sometimes you need that healthy boost of self-esteem.
And you are badass.
All the time, all day, every day. Uma is Uma's biggest cheerleader. And I love when I talk in third person.
Well, I concur.
I appreciate it. I want to talk a little bit about resistance, because even though you're known now for the affirmation songs and you've always been known for your positivity and joy and light, sometimes when we go through traumatic things, as you went through, and having to go through the healing phase, sometimes we're faced with resistance, fear, and doubt. Could you tell me at that time, or even during your healing, or even after your healing, what resistance themes came up for you? What internal resistance did you have to confront, that no matter how many times you listened to those affirmation tapes, it didn't matter, it was still there?
Well, I think it was fear of success. Because what happened was I had so much success after that, because the journalists found out about my healing, and because I was a well-known singer, I started getting interviews, and they wanted me to work with Deepak Chopra and Wayne Dyer and tour all over the country and get paid $5,000 a gig, which I'd unheard of. The band would get enough money, but after you pay the agent, the road crew, you know, huge big double four-way speakers and the truck and everything, we were lucky to make $100 each, the band. Right. I mean, I remember Michael Hutchence once, after a gig we did with them from In Excess, I'm name dropping, but I'm just saying, before they made it big, he borrowed money from my road crew to buy a hamburger because he didn't have any money.
Isn't that crazy? And we see all these big shows and we're thinking, oh, you guys are living off of lobster and caviar.
No, the record companies are, that's for sure. And their agents, that's for sure. But the suits, as we call them. The suits. But anyway, so it was, so I'm getting all this money and selling. They said, you can make your CDs and sell them at the back of the room. I said, the affirmation music, I'm not selling that. They said, yeah, just make them yourself and sell them at the back of the room. I made 500 CDs, and we're going to do a 7-city around Australia. And I'd never heard of Deepak Chopra or Wayne Dyer or any of those people. I'd never heard of them. So I got to meet them. That was interesting. Anyway, traveling with the boys in the band and the boys that are motivational speakers. I prefer the boys in the band. Thank you very much.
Right. Why is that? Oh, they're nicer?
They're nicer. They're funnier. They don't take themselves. They don't have egos. A lot of those blokes have got the egos of, oh my God, not Bob Proctor. I worked with him for 7 years. He was amazing. I ended up running his business from Kuala Lumpur. He was just amazing. The real McCoy, you know. But anyway, and so I started feeling fluttery. And Bob Proctor said, you've got to work with me all over the world. I just can't believe what you do on stage. The audience is just, I didn't even want a rock singer. And they said, you're going to get her. When you tour Australia, we're the promoters, we're paying you. And after the first night, he just said, this is the most amazing thing. I've never seen an audience. You get them all up on stage dancing. They're all singing Magnet to Money and all your little songs. And he said, I want to work with you all over the world. And what he offered me was so huge, him and his wife, Linda, that and because I was in a different trajectory, I didn't want to be broke anymore and have to, all of a sudden I was like, do I want a band? Do I really want to do this? And the resistance and when I started talking to the band about it, the resistance from the wives, they were ready to kill me if I left the band. So I was in this fear of success, but I wanted to do it. But the resistance of, we've worked so hard though, the band really, and I didn't want to sing some of the songs I used to write, because one of my hits was called Mere Dust, Without You Baby. I didn't want to sing songs that would put people in the blues either. Right. So it was really, really difficult time. In the end, I made a decision, I had to, that I would do it with Bob, travel and do all that stuff. And I'm so glad I did, because I learned so much. I gave the band 6 months notice, so they didn't kill me. Right. And they all ended up doing great afterwards. So that was fine. But it was a really tough decision, and the resistance. And it is interesting because you've wanted success all your life, but when you go into the unknown and you're on your own without your band, that's where the resistance and the fear came in, because it was like I kept attracting everything I'd ever wanted. And I almost self-sabotaged myself a couple of times, because it was just like, but I can't do that to the band, and that's selfish. And so that was my quagmire at the time.
I'm curious, when you had your big accident that kind of took you out for a bit, do you have in your mind a reason for it? Because sometimes people say, like, well, everything happens for a reason. And I'm not a big fan of that, because it feels like it's romanticizing trauma, right? So what is your personal meaning about what happened in your life? Does it romanticize the pain, or does it minimize what was lost? Like, how is your approach to what happened?
Shit happens.
I love it.
I never really thought of it. There are many things that I have been known to me now, but at the time, I know now that my life's purpose wasn't just to be in a rock band, because everything that I learned from being in a rock band and managing it and everything, I took into business and started running seminars, and still, like a rock concert, still have musicians and everything, dancers, and I still do the whole 9 yards sometimes. Anyway, was to find myself, my soul, and to be with an enlightened teacher for those 12 years. And I mean, I went off the grid. I was just Bob Proctor's the one who said, I've got this heart glow, and it's just, I feel in love with everyone. But at the same time, something's missing. And he said, you need an enlightened teacher. That's what you need. You want to find your higher self. He said, I had one. He said, I had one for 3 years before he left the body. And he said, that's what you've got to go and look for. And that's what I did. I went looking for one, found one, 16 countries, 14 years later, it took me to find one. But it was worth every moment, because that was what I know now. That accident happened for me to go, because I know my past lives, and what I used to do was teach, and I was enlightened in past lives as well. And it was, you forget when you're born again. You forget why you're here. You're like, oh, shit, I forgot what I'm here for.
Yeah.
So all of that, great, being able to handle rough, drunken Australian men, thousands of them, when you're on stage, you can handle anything, I'm telling you.
The rough, drunken Australian man. You got
can
some ladies listening, to the podcast, booking tickets right now.
Oh my God! You go to Australia, you're going to fall in love with the Australian guys, and they just love the American accent. So yeah, I don't know any American women that have gone to Australia and haven't come back with a boyfriend or a husband.
Well, to be fair, I did go, but I also did have a boyfriend. So but
already.
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Australia is beautiful.
Yeah. So it's a bit of a challenging question to answer. So
Yeah.
I can't just say yes. I believe it was, meant to happen. Something was meant to happen to shift me, and I truly believe that it would have been something else. Something was going to happen to shift me because my soul was guiding me that way. So something would have happened. If it wasn't that, I really believe it would have been something else to take me back on the path I was supposed to be on, which was my spiritual path.
I appreciate it because there was something else you said that really stood out to me. You said, Bob Proctor told you need to get an enlightenment teacher. And, with what I do, I coach people. I'm like the enlightenment teacher. I'm not Bob Proctor at all, but I'm the enlightenment teacher to many in my little area, right? And sometimes people want to work with me, but they can't make sense of like, why do I need a spiritual mentor? I don't pursue anybody. They come to me and they are excited, but they can't make sense of it. And I think you touched on something because in the East, this is normal. This is
Oh,
normal,
yeah,
right? You're
absolutely.
going through something in life, you get a teacher, and a teacher explains things to you or expands your mindset or teaches you techniques and tools to help you. But I find in the West, and I say West like, the first world nations, that it's such a hard concept to come by. What would you say to someone who maybe is going through something, and what you just said about finding a teacher, it inspires them, but they still have no clue what this is about?
Well, I've got tons of students from all over the globe that I teach and transmit light to. And some of them have come to me because they heard the Magnet to Money song and they think they're coming to me for wealth or for this. And I want everybody to have no suffering. And so I love to teach people how to really use the mind and visualization and the affirmation songs just to get themselves out of those rabbit holes that they're in. But the meditation part, once they begin to really feel it and they start feeling the tingles on the top of their head and they really start getting into meditation, it changes their life. I've got one student from New Caledonia, Charles, and he won't say his last name, he'd kill me, but but he came to me originally because he wanted his secretary to fall in love with him. And after a few years, he finally started really doing what I suggested. He's bringing up 2 daughters on his own. He started getting up at 4 a.m. and doing the meditation teachings that I taught him. And after a year, the roof started shaking when he meditated. He was really going into early enlightenment. It's crazy. And another student, William, he's in Ireland and he's in early enlightenment now, but he's been with me for like 14 years. But I never, ever went to my enlightened teacher thinking I could become awakened. It was never about that. I was in love with God, whatever you choose to call God. I had this heart glow and I could feel the first time I saw her hands going into gold. And so I did everything she told me to do. I didn't write any more books. I didn't do anything. I just focused on my meditation. And where she'd say, travel here in 2 weeks, I'd go to that country. I would just show up because I knew that I loved meditating. The first 2 years I didn't. It was really challenging. And I'd meditated before I met her. I was doing meditation before that. But when you've got a teacher who can transmit light to you, your path becomes extremely challenging to stop those thoughts, but it's a fast path then. And she had an enlightened teacher and he left the body quite young. And so, now I teach and she's not teaching because she's sort of semi-retired. You don't want to teach forever. It's very, very, as you know, it's very challenging to have that many people's tension on you and to be taking on so much of their energy that you've got to completely clear yourself of all the time, which is why I exercise so much. It really helps so much. But I'm talking too much. You go ahead.
No, listen, this is your interview and I love it. And I'm listening because everything is lining up personally for me based off of what I'm going through right now. So I'm just like, I'm in the right space. I'm in the right frequency. I'm in the right energy and I do agree with you. I've been a teacher I've had my center for 17 years.
Oh, wow.
And when I have like an annual mentorship program that I do. And at one point we had like 42 people at that little tiny center, standing room only. We ran out of chairs, and because I grew so much to be known as a spiritual teacher in my little area, not the world or anything, just in my town, that it was popping. And now I find like I can't do that anymore. I rather smaller groups, 10 to 20 like max, and that's good for me. So teaching does take a lot out of you, because you're tuning into everybody's energy as you're speaking, and you're making sure that everybody's having those aha moments, and you're consciously connecting to everybody through the energy cords. So when I'm done, I'm done. I'm like ready to just take a nap and call it a day. So I
But
understand what you're saying.
even Yogananda, who I adore,
Yeah,
Yogananda,
I love Yogananda.
you know, he said at one stage, "Oh, I'm sick of all the students. I just want to go to Mexico for 2 years."
Yeah,
And sit on the beach.
Yeah, he was amazing. I
He
read
was
his book,
that
Autobiography of a Yogi, and a lot of people say I look like him
you
because
do a little bit, actually. You do a little bit. Yeah, but I mean, his book changed my life. That was before I even met Bob Proctor. After my accident,
yeah,
I started reading a lot of spiritual books, and you know, like another book that changed my life was Swami Muktananda's Play of Consciousness. I opened it and I felt the Shakti. This is before I'd even met my teacher. And I'm like, what is that? What am I feeling? And it was like being transmitted from a man who'd left the body quite a while ago from his autobiography. It was incredible. So
I'm gonna have to get the name of that book from you. The
Play of Consciousness,
Play of Consciousness.
Swami Muktananda, M-U-K Tananda. Swami, absolutely incredible. He had thousands of students all over the world when he was alive. Absolutely amazing autobiography, what he went through, what he did. Ah, wow. Incredible.
You know what's funny? Because I feel this way with spiritual people, whether you're a guru or a yogi or a teacher or a mentor or a guide, because the titles don't mean anything. But I feel like for people that are called to the spiritual path, it's almost like we go through these games or these experiences that it's like an initiation, because when I was, recently given some news, after I, got over the shock of the news and whatever, the very next thing that came to me was, you're invited to the game. And I haven't meditated yet today, after hearing about my news, but I can't wait to go for my daily meditation time, because I can't wait to sit and ponder on that, because I just feel there's so much there. So I do believe you when you say that his story is incredible, because I feel those people that are at guru level, they had to go through some internal shifts, right? To show us how to shift.
Absolutely. He went through so much. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I'm just, like St. Teresa of Avila, Interior Castle is another one of my favorite books.
Interior Castle.
Yeah, because the way she talks about enlightenment, and she had to be extremely careful because that was the time of the Spanish Inquisition.
Right.
She started the Carmelite nuns, and because the priests, the first time she went into samadhi, basically, she told a priest, because she couldn't believe what had happened to her, and she saw Jesus and all this stuff happened to her, and the priest said, "No, that's the devil. That's not real." Right. Blah, blah, blah. So after that, she wrote this book. She wrote a few books, but that one, she was very, very careful. But who am I? Just a woman. The priest should know better. Wink, wink. So it's very clever the way she wrote it, so that you can get it, because like all doors lead to Rome, right? So if you're sincerely wanting to find your higher self, your beautiful diamond, as I call it, well then, it doesn't matter. Like Sri Ramakrishna, one of my favorite, so in love with him. And, he was an avatar. He was only born once to show all the different religions, because there was so much bullshit happening in India at the time that he, and if an enlightened teacher doesn't curse, they're not real. Just kidding. But anyway.
I must be at the top of the enlightenment teachers. No, I'm kidding.
No. when I heard my teacher first say fuck or something, I was just like, oh, she's real. Not trying to be a saint, because I'd met so many that were like, bow to me, I'm a saint, and they just totally weren't. But anyway, so he went through Catholicism, Christianity, Muslim. He went through every religion. He found a teacher for every religion. He was so humble and he said, they're all, if you're a sincere student, you can become enlightened through any of those religions if it's real. If you're really sincere, it doesn't matter what your religion is, because he just couldn't stand that there was so much superstition happening in India, and that they were like, I'm a Brahmin, you're nothing, you're low case,
Right.
So I love that. I love him. I mean, totally in love with Sri Ramakrishna. I've read everything there is. His my one of my other favorite, I call them all my boyfriends, is Vivekananda.
Oh, yeah. You got all the greats.
Yeah, because Vivekananda, because he spoke about him so much. And I said, he must have written some books. And so I just got every book he'd ever written. And Brahmananda, another one of his favorite disciples, they both became Mahasiddhas, not just enlightenment, but Mahasiddhas. Incredible, incredible.
Yeah.
But anyway.
When you think about the spiritual path, like how much further you can go. Like, and that's one of my goals in this lifetime is I just want for myself to see how far I can go. So I love that you talk about it from this perspective.
Yeah, well, and you, because of what you just heard this morning, I won't say anything. That's going to help you go even further, and you know it.
I agree. Because when they said to me, "You've been invited to the game," it held so much. It held so much, and I said, "Oh, I can't wait," because I've been asking for this, right? So
the play of consciousness.
Yeah, that's why I got to get that book, The Play of Consciousness.
You have to. You'll love it. You'll love it, Uma. You'll love it.
Well, you are an absolutely amazing person, Michele. I have my last question, and I almost don't want to ask it, but my last question for you this evening is, looking back now with distance, with perspective, what is one thing you can share, one truth you can share to people listening in about growth or conscious living, or anything that you wish people would understand on the spiritual path? What could you leave them with?
When you go through suffering, it awakens you. It really assists you. So whatever you're suffering with, or whatever fears you've got, it's not like, oh, everything is possible, and it's true, everything is possible, but it burns karma. It assists you to be more aware and more mindful, and it's not a bad thing. It's just a thing that's happening to you. You're suffering, whether it's because of the loss of someone you love, or a physical ailment, whatever it is, suffering helps. This planet has been created with suffering and with joy as well, and beauty and everything. But if you can look at if there's any suffering you're going through, you will rise above it. Number one, you will, because everyone can do anything. You can rise above it. And to know, even though it sounds cliche, it's absolutely the truth. Your higher self loves you. And if you think that higher self just as a friend, and just thank it every day for just life itself. If you can say every day, thank you, it doesn't have to say God if you don't believe in God, or just say thank you, whatever, for my beautiful life. Thank you. And gratitude is just so understated how powerful it is. And I've got a new app called True Prayer app. We've worked on it for 2.5 years. And it's got prayers for everything you can imagine, meditations in the mornings. It's got videos on what prayer really is and how it works, not begging ever. You are a powerful spirit, and you don't beg for anything, my dear people listening, ever, because you are divine royalty. And I don't care where you are or what you're suffering, you are divine royalty, and you are loved, and you are never, ever alone. Angels are real.
Yes.
There's one right in front of me now, Irma. And I would love to give away a couple of things if that's okay, Irma.
Yes, please. Please tell everyone.
Well, my Stop Thought audiobook is my last book that I've written. I've written a lot of books, but this book is 15 years worth of teachings that were transcribed, all to do with how to stop thought and meditate so you can become awakened. And that's for free. It's an audiobook, hours and hours and hours. And one of my favorite, I've got many albums, but my favorite album I did, which is fun and it can put you into a positive mood straight away, is Songs for Success. And Bob Proctor actually co-wrote 4 of the songs on there. So
Wow.
including the song Success. And even if you just think, oh, they're just simple little affirmation songs, but they're all professionally recorded and they're beautifully done and they're fun. And it can shift your mindset. Just listen to them while you're driving or whatever. People love it. I love that album. And you can have that for free at Michele Blood, Michele Blood. It's not a punk name. It's my daddy's name, Blood, Blood, because people used to think I changed it because I'm in a rock band. I said, no, I wasn't in a punk rock band. MichelleBlood.com/Lotus Lounge. And you can thank beautiful Uma for that.
Oh. We're gonna definitely try to put that in the comments. MichelleBlood.com/Lotus Lounge. We're gonna put that in the comment section for you guys. Michele, thank you so much for being part of the podcast show tonight. And
well, you froze. She's frozen. But because this is still recording, I will just say, well, I fell in love with you today, Uma. You're awesome. And thank you so much. Totally in love with you. You're gorgeous. You're amazing. And all of the people listening, you go to this woman and let her teach you. Buy everything she's got and watch every Tuesday because she's the real McCoy and that's unusual.
I really appreciate it, Michele. Thank you so much, guys.
All right,
Michele Blood. We want to thank her for sharing her story with honesty and depth. What stands out to me about Michele is not just what she created after the accident, but the internal work it required to become someone new without bypassing what came before. So to everyone watching live or catching the replay, thank you for being part of Truth Tuesday. This show exists because conscious living requires more than inspiration. It requires honesty, reflection, and responsibility for who we become after life changes us. And I want to leave this with you. This morning at 9:28 a.m., my doctor called me to inform me that my tissue biopsy came back and I tested positive for breast cancer. My initial reaction was, I am shocked because I am too great for this to happen to me. That was my initial reaction. And so I'm going about getting what I need to get taken care of, meeting with doctors, discussing possible treatment forms to come and what's to happen. But I will say this, as a healer, as a spiritual teacher, I'm not afraid, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued because I want to know what this is about, right? I have so many ideas and it's exciting to me because no one really knows this whole idea of what life is, what death is, and the beyond. And I just feel like this is an invitation for me to explore and to learn more. And that's what I was saying to Michele, that after I sat with it and I was okay with it, and I was like, okay, well, this is just another thing that we're going to do and we're going to get through it, right? Because you guys have heard about 2020 when I had my near-death experience. And before that, I had another near-death experience when I was a kid, right? It's always just like so interesting to me, this concept of life and concept of death. So I promise you, to all my listeners, to all my viewers, all my fans, all my followers, I will be absolutely transparent about this journey, about breast cancer, about my treatment options, I'm going to stream it, record it, talk about it, and live it. Because whatever this is, it's the next step. And you can't see anything that happens to you as a step back. You have to always see it as a step forward. So I invite you to join me on my journey. Follow me on my socials. Tune in to the podcast and see how my journey takes off. Let's see what this is all about. I invite you to be part of it, and I hope you do join me. Thank you for joining me for Truth Tuesday. I will be back again next week with our favorite co-host, Rachel Carr, and we're going to be interviewing Rachel about the sins of being a joyful person on this planet. Bye for now, guys.